In or around 2002 to 2003, specifically the summer of 2002, I was living at a house in a part of Chicago that had recently been purchased by the homeowner. And while I was living there, they were having a welcoming party. It was a housewarming party, and during that time frame, something odd happened. The house next door had a chimney that was made of old bricks, and something happened, and there was a giving out of that chimney, and the chimney fell from the roof next door, and the houses were close enough together that when the chimney fell over, it fell on the roof of the house that was having the housewarming party, and it actually did structural damage, including not only breaking the window, but breaking through the window frame. Caused a substantial amount of damage. And that meant that both the house that had just been given over to the housewarming party, it had been less than 6 months since the closing on that house, which was the first time the homeowners ever purchased a house, as well as the house next door, which I understand had been owned by the people who lived there for a considerable amount of time. Both of them would have had a need to file an insurance claim, specifically regarding the roof. At one point in time, I requested an audit in connection with the Capitol Dome and construction on the Capitol Dome in Washington, D.C., to be cross referenced specifically with billings for repairs to the roofs of houses for a particular period of time within the United States that were owned by first time homebuyers. We're not talking about how you leave your home and then go buy another home. We're not talking about getting a home and maybe keeping it for a while and doing a little investment and then flipping it, or even having homes in a series of portfolio with a series of homes. So you have multiple homes. We're talking about first-time homeowners who have been identified perhaps, but might be more statistically inclined to make that first-time home purchase and invest in it for a long period of time, including with an understanding that they'll have it for the entirety of the mortgage, 20-year, 25-year mortgage. But within the early days of them getting that home, or at some point during the course of them being that one time, that first home ownership possibility within a particular period of time, they have to bill for some damage to the roof. See, at some point, a couple of years later, I got this really strange phone call one night from this guy who alleged that I had a loan in conjunction with him. I contend now that's not what happened. Actually, I contend that he engaged in a pre-coordinated, premeditated effort to put us where we are right now, right? Which is where somebody's trying to make a new production agreement on my well, right? Without my permission and without even confirming who they are. I contend he did the same thing. And in the course of doing that, he conspired to aid and abet what happened when I came to Texas. And in so doing that, not only was there some secret production agreement put together, not only involving me, but the people I knew prior to coming to Texas, as well as the people I knew while I was in Texas, including the people I was living with, or the person I was living with. But not only that, he obstructed and interfered with things going on in my life concerning my credit and financial possibilities because he was in debt. He got busted along with a lot of other people in that specific sector, right? You work at a financial services firm. You're doing a specific kind of work at a financial services firm, the kind of work that requires you to at least have a master's degree. And then you're going to co-sign on a loan with somebody without disclosing to them up front what you're doing with the investments connected to that co-signed loan agreement that you hooked up. And then your firm ends up getting caught in one of the biggest finance scandals in the history of the country. And then a couple of years later, you want to call up and tell somebody that you expect them to engage in acts of prostitution in order to pay off the fact that there had been damage to your roof. Yeah, well, because you didn't pay me. My wife miscarried. My dog died. And the roof on my new home fell in. It was the first time I purchased a home. The roof caved in. We had to pay for a new roof. And it's because you wouldn't pay on that loan. That doesn't make any sense. What do you expect me to do? Prostitute myself? Well, you absolutely expected me to prostitute myself. And it's been going on more than 12 years. So that guy that you supported in the election, that you might have been willing to also co-sign up other assets into that loan function, well, that loan is expired. And you refuse to get back to me with your actual official legal contact long enough for them to swap out your portfolio with a portfolio that went to the Supreme Court of the United States instead of me. And meanwhile, your guy in the private insurance firm that was doing the medical reinsurance seems to have gotten a lot of good deals for him and his private insurance people. When I asked him if he would do what actually by law he said he was required to do with what he said he was already doing, that ended up getting parlayed onto workers' compensation insurance through the insurance commission of the state wherein his insurance company that he works for is headquartered. Now the problem, of course, is that if I'm not mistaken, your wife is a goddamn social worker who deals with mental health counseling, up to and potentially including moments of intersection where somebody would need to get prescriptions for psychotropics. And his wife is a goddamn immunobiologist who is fancying herself a doctor of virology. You motherfuckers are terrorists. Do you understand? You are terrorists. And the problem is that you could have put me as the lady on the top of the building. You could have. You could have put me as the cat on the fucking hot tin roof and seen what I had done, right? But you hooked up a fake insurance building so that you could get kickbacks you had no entitlement to. It's gotten out of control. It's not enough at this point for the little local syndicate to be effectively, demonstrably shut down before the end of the weekend. I want you, I want your wife, I want your insurance brother, and I want his wife. I want them busted too. I want my full house. I have 5 points in my house. Do you understand? I want all 5 of you busted by the end of the weekend. We're not playing these games anymore. Now, if you think, well, you got set up by somebody else, or there's somebody else higher up the chain, well, you already know, right? Because you guys were the ones that hooked up all of those deals based upon forcing me into the public comment period at the Federal Reserve, as opposed to actually supporting me in filing charges and helping me pay legal fees in order to get my rights to due process. You guys were the ones that set up the acts of securities fraud and insurance fraud to cover your ass. I'm sorry you were at a junior level at the time, right? But you're going to have to deal with this as well. That upstream and that lower stream, I'm sorry. All of those people at those shelters that you tried to, use as leverage to cover your ass, they're already busted. And you did not see fit to do right by that. It's your turn. You understand? You know exactly who I'm talking about. It's not my fault you have the same name as a CEO at the company that actually got to go to the Supreme fucking Court, right? It's not my fucking fault, but you know absolutely what that means. Goldberg. Literally. You, your wife, your insurance broker, and his wife. You need to turn yourself in by the end of the fucking weekend. And you need to get one of your contacts to contact me here in Dallas with an actual, literal arrangement besides being hunkered away like this with somebody that acts like they have the mental capacity of somebody that's retarded.